And we are live.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? My name's James. You know Heidi, of course. Vets for Yang, the one and only. We are doing a new thing called The Gang Saves Humanity. So this will be something we do regularly, hopefully. And we just come on, we talk about issues that you know, our society, our country is having, and then possible ways to solve them. So we planned on doing this show even before the stock market crashed this morning. We were gonna do a lot regarding the UBI stimulus. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is a UBI stimulus and how that would be a better option than for example, in 2008, when the stock market crashed, they gave the banks $4 trillion as a bailout. So we are going to make the argument that, hey, how about we give the money to the people, let that money trickle up to the corporations versus just giving it to the corporations and leaving people out. So did I sum that up a little bit, Heidi?
Yeah, like to give a kind of a background as to what started this all. I'm sure if you guys got past the Wall Street Journal's paywall, you saw the article that was written by Jason Furman, where he basically called for a cash stimulus. It's not something that's exactly new. Some of you that are my age might remember in the Bush era, he did a cash stimulus. I think that, Jason Furman was one of Obama's economic advisors. I think with his calling for something like that, this is like the perfect opportunity for us to remind the country that, hey, we literally had a candidate that was running on a platform designed to, manage and handle a situation like this. And two, to show the need for it. Because the fact of the matter is right now, and Trump's already had his meeting with his advisors, and, they're cutting rates. They're talking about like a payroll tax cuts. But that stuff takes, time to set in.
Right.
It can take up to like a year for most economic policies to like us to see what, how they work or what they're doing. And there is one thing that we know can work right away, and you will see immediate returns. I mean, you'll get an idea if it's working or not, is putting cash directly into people's hands. That is, and we know how to do it. Like Andrew said many times, if there's one thing the government's good at, it is sending a lot of people checks.
Yeah.
They do it. They're doing it right now. And one point that Furman made in his article was that they're trying to balance being too conservative with going overboard, right? They don't want to overreact to the coronavirus, and then if it doesn't turn out to be the giant economic disaster, which it's actually looking like it's gonna be, the stock market dropped 2,000 points today, no big deal. So they don't want to overreact, but they also don't want to underreact. But the point that he made is a point that is another point that like Andrew makes. When Andrew says, you can't go too early, like on a UBI, but you can definitely go too late. And he's saying what the economic stimulus is if you literally do just put money in people's hands, there's no downside, right? I mean, like, okay, so maybe you overdid it. It didn't turn out to be exactly necessary, but it will not hurt anything,
Right.
Like that money is literally going to go right back into the economy. It's going to boost the economy. So there's not much of a downside to doing this. It's kind of, I think, what Trump just, like what he's signaling is his, what his priorities are. And I heard something today about, he was talking about bailing out like the airlines, because obviously they're not doing anything right now. Nobody wants to fly. But we've already seen in 2008 that it's not exactly the best thing to bail out all these major industries and then leave the American people hanging. Can you imagine if 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? What happens when they get to that second paycheck they haven't gotten, right? That's millions of Americans, hundreds of millions of Americans that are, what happens if everyone starts defaulting? The American people are too big to fail.
Yeah, and it's something where it's a unique situation because in 2008 it was only economic, right? The stock market crashed and it was only economic, and they felt that it was necessary to bail out banks just based on the economic part of it. Right now, we're dealing with something where there are economic things that are happening because of this virus that's going around. Now, it can be argued how serious the virus is, how serious it's not. One thing we can't argue is that it's the reason it was affecting the stock market last week and before that was because it's interrupting the global supply chain. We have too many things coming from China, and when China slows down a little bit, we see it a lot on our side over here. Now, what changed over the weekend, because like the UBI stimulus was being talked about before the last couple days.
Yes.
What happened over the last couple days is apparently there's some price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia that caused oil to drop 31%. So now, on top of all the coronavirus stuff, you also have oil tanking, which is compounding. So back to my original point is people can't just like to slow down the spread of a virus and to make sure people are taken care of, like people should be staying home.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, and so if you want the virus to spread slower, you need people to stay home. If you want people to stay home and not go to work to make money, you need to put the money directly in the people's hands. Right? It's a little more unique than 2008, where you might have the more of a reason just to give it to corporations. Hindsight, it still didn't work. But now you need to put money back in the economy. You need people to not go out and feel like they're slaves to their job, even if it's putting their health at risk. And the best way to do that is through a basic income stimulus, putting the money directly in the people's hands versus corporations.
Exactly. And a payroll tax cut is not going to do anything if you're not working.
Well, no, and it's
how the heck is that going to work if literally you are not working? And who knows how long, once people are out of work, once, if it gets to that point, who knows how long they'll be out of work. And as I said, if 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, they can't be out of work for long. So all of these ideas that they're trying to come up with, and they do try and come up with these really novel ideas, these really out of the box ideas. But the thing is implementing them is a whole different thing. The fastest and the best way to avert this oncoming crisis is quite literally just to put the money in people's hands. Like, I think Andrew even just tweeted that. He's jumping in on our UBI stimulus hashtag.
That's awesome.
Let me read it to you. He said, yeah, exactly what I just said. Lower interest rates do nothing for the wage worker losing shifts and tips, for the mom stuck at home looking after her child because the school is closed, for the restaurant or theater losing business because people are staying in. The only stimulus that would work is the UBI stimulus. So Andrew is obviously behind us. I've been trying to, get media attention, because I think that Andrew needs to be on TV right now saying, hey guys, look, this is the stuff I've been talking about for the last 2 years. And I think that he could have an influence over, over a potential stimulus if they do decide to do that. And I don't know why he's not on CNN yet, but I'm trying to get him to do that.
He has to be, they have to be bringing him on. Personally, I think this is a perfect time for him to just unsuspend,
Yeah, I did that. I said that earlier. I tried to get the unsuspend Andrew Yang trending, but nobody jumped on it.
I didn't even see that. I would have jumped on that bandwagon just because
Yeah.
the state of the election right now is like, okay, we have a 77 and a 78-year-old wanting to go up against what's Trump 77 too.
Yeah.
Like,
And no one is showing leadership on this. Trump is not. Biden is not. Bernie is not. There's
nothing.
No leadership on this. Like, this is literally the moment that Andrew Yang can jump back in and be like, hey guys, I already had a plan for this. I still do, and establish himself as a leader. So that's why I want him like on CNN tonight.
He should be
or something. Yeah, he absolutely should. Like, this is his, and this is his lane. And some people were saying, no, we don't want, like, what if Trump passes UBI? We don't want that. That'll ruin it. The fact of the matter is we can't have purity tests when it comes to UBI. We can't let, as Andrew said in his book, the perfect be the enemy of the good. This is an opportunity to get it moving, right? Once people see how much it helps, right? They, it would be a temporary stimulus while, the economy's down, while the coronavirus is, whatever's going on with it. But people are going to want it once they realize, like, how precarious it is when, and we all know, that we're in a precarious situation where anything, getting sick, things don't have to necessarily be on a mass or a global scale to affect us and to completely, decimate us. As someone who filed medical bankruptcy 10 years ago, because I almost lost my son to the last, virus, H1N1, I can tell you that I know the value of something like this. And I think that if we got this UBI stimulus out there, the American people will want to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. So not only is it the best solution right now to what we're dealing with, it also gets it out there, to more people will know about it. It'll be more positive, viewed in a more positive light. But again, the motivation with us right now is just to help more people, to help the most people possible.
Absolutely. Literally everybody is panicking. Like, not everyone can work from home,
Right.
There's a lot of people panicking that they don't have sick leave, they don't have FMLA, they don't, that they're going to be sent home and they have no money coming in. This is what you have to do right now. It doesn't matter if this isn't the best situation to present a UBI, or it's not the best way to get it implemented. Of course it's not, but it is, you have to look past that because it is necessary. I mean, we can't have hundreds of millions of Americans unable to pay their bills.
Yeah, and it's something where we're being flexible with, like, hey, what we are going to put humanity first, right? Like, we're not saying, no, we have to have a Democrat implement UBI because, no, we need, there's a reason.
If Donald Trump wants to implement it and then rides that into re-election,
at this point, well, let's look at it from a political standpoint. All right. So I just got done running for Congress. I lost, but I was having to look at things on more of a political standpoint too. So his whole thing was the economy running into this.
Yeah.
That's not a positive anymore. Not even close. So
as of today, it is definitely not. Yeah.
No, and so along with a lot of the other people in Washington that are either up for election this year or will be up for election, you have a stock market that's imploding. You have a virus that shouldn't have been that serious, but you didn't really get ahead of it. So now it's like causing people to worry, and you need to get ahead of it. So from even a political standpoint, do you put money in the hands of corporations and then hopes it gets to the right places, or do you put the money in the hands of voters and actually
it will get where it needs to go? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Okay, Trump was 73. My bad. Thanks, Fred. He's the youngin in the group, but you know what I mean. Like, so it doesn't matter any way you look at it. The only people that it would benefit going to the corporations are the corporations. That's it. Like, it doesn't matter any other way you look at it. A stimulus that goes to the people is the most beneficial thing right now.
Yeah, and Lee just earlier brought up this comment that for self-employed, I mean, as Andrew says, like the gig economy is what's creating all the new jobs anymore. So it's not even just, people, stay-at-home moms or whoever. It's also, gig economy employees, payroll tax that will do nothing for them.
Yeah, and the payroll tax cut really benefits people that are making higher wages anyways. If you're in a lower paying job that, and you're in a tax bracket that they don't take a lot of taxes out, or you're in a situation where, you aren't having a lot of taxes paid out or taken out because you have to pay bills, like it just doesn't make sense for the little guy. Like the payroll tax cuts makes more sense for people with more money. And yeah, citizen bailout for sure. Like, yeah,
I'm just highlighting some comments just because I just learned how to do this.
It's all good. We're all learning.
So Phil asked, what is a UBI stimulus? I guess we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. So basically a UBI stimulus is usually when they try and get money back into the economy. And what we're saying is we should use UBI as a stimulus. Jason Furman's, I wrote it down, but he was basically saying he wanted to give every American adult $1,000 and then every child $500 as a stimulus. And I was... if you guys saw my petition, if you signed a petition today on change.org, that's mine. So I started this petition and I agreed with that, but also said we should also make it monthly until, the coast is clear, essentially, which actually I think Jason might have said that as well. So I'll show you guys, if you have not signed it yet, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Just give me a second.
It's all good. I'll see if I could share it on Twitter again too, so people have it out there.
Okay. So about 2 days ago, I created this petition. It's demand Congress add an emergency short-term UBI to the COVID-19 funding bill. I think we've got a little over... we've got about, that's slowly ticking up, almost 1,400 people that have signed it. And earlier today, Mike Breuer, who is running against Mitch McConnell, actually released a press release where he called on Mitch to adopt the terms of this petition. As you guys can see, American Hospital Association, with their best guess, is saying we'll have 96 million infections, 4.8 million hospitalizations, 1.9 million ICU admissions, and 480,000 deaths. That is, I know Trump wants to keep saying that this is no different or no worse than the flu, but we don't lose 480,000 Americans. We don't have those kind of admissions with the flu.
Yeah, exactly. And that's literally the point when my ears perked up about the coronavirus, was literally when Trump started downplaying it. Like when I heard him trying to downplay it, because he doesn't downplay anything. Anything he can, like, blow it up, make it seem like more than it is, he will do that, right? So the second he was trying to downplay it, I was like, ooh, I might need to pay attention to this. Yeah. And literally that day I went to get some masks and things. And again, just in case, like, it's better to plan ahead and, if things
be wrong. Like, we would all love to be wrong, but you can, there's, with the stimulus, with the UBI stimulus, there really isn't a downside, like I said, to going with it, because it will help either way. Like,
right,
putting money in people's hands always is a boost to the economy. So even if it doesn't end up being this total like disaster scenario, it still won't be a bad thing. So I don't think that they should waste a lot of time. Like I think Trump's going to be talking to like CEOs on Wednesday. I don't think he needs to spend so much time overthinking these solutions that will take a long time to implement.
Right.
And we won't know if they're even effective for a long time.
Yeah.
I think that his best bet is what Andrew Yang has been saying, what we've all been saying, and put the money directly in our hands. Did you share a link to the petition?
I did. I don't know why it's not showing up on StreamYard, but it's showing up on YouTube. So I did. I was looking. I'm like, I don't know why that isn't there. But yeah, it's the link to the petition's right above this comment on YouTube, so you can just copy and paste, and you can get in there. What's up, Devin? Hi, Champagne. She's in there
too. Is Devin in here?
He commented under mine. So yeah, right now I think it's okay. How, like, obviously it's the best choice. Now, how do we get enough exposure to make some noise in Washington? Because the people in Washington need to be considering this, because any kind of stimulus. Again, this goes back to the stock market crash in 2008. They bailed out the banks with a $4 trillion bailout to the banks that didn't even necessarily work.
Yeah.
So what's Jason saying? This would cost about $350 billion.
Billion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not $4 trillion. So any stimulus package, any kind of help that the government is trying to give out to relieve some of the stresses with what's going on right now needs to include the people. Like, it can't just go straight to the corporations and pass right over millions and, like you said, hundreds of millions of people that are having issues right now. Because again, first we need to just be putting people in front of corporations anyways.
Exactly.
And logically, even if you want to go even to a more logical point, this is more unique than 2008, because it's literally something where it benefits everyone way more if they're able to stay home and not spread whatever's going around.
Right? Like, literally, if you want people to stay home so we can contain this, you have to pay people to stay home, because you can't get mad at people who go to work because they have to, right?
Right.
Like, most people are not going to go to work because they're trying to get other people sick. They're going to go to work because they have bills to pay. So if you expect them to stay home, you have to pay them. And I'm going to be honest, I think that I think that Trump, if this gets in front of him, he would consider it, because he is he's very much about his economy and how it's so great and the stock market's great, and that's all tanking right now.
Yeah.
So I think like this, if it's shown to him and that it's like a guaranteed win, he might actually go for it, because that is like his number one thing is his economy.
So. Yeah, and we've seen the support from both sides of the aisle for UBI just from the Yang Gang. Like, it's not something that only appeals to super dedicated Democrats. Like, no, it appeals to everyone, like libertarians, Republicans, Democrats, independents, whatever else there is. You know what I mean? It appeals to everyone. So again, I think if we make enough, like if we're able to get enough publicity to get this out there, I think we can make
and that's the question, is how. Like, so I've got the petition out there, and then Mike in Kentucky signing it and doing his press release where he called on Mitch McConnell to like adopt this. I think that was huge, and that was but we need to get more people in the public eye, more people that are actually, like, I was trying to get Tulsi to, like, she was supposedly trying to introduce a UBI bill. It would seem like she would support this, but I haven't gotten anything. I haven't got anything back on that. But we need to get it in the public eye. I've been tagging media like Van Jones. I'm sharing all over. I think that if we can get this to gain steam, and like I said, we have no leadership right now. Trump is not leading on this, and none of the people running for president really are even leading on this. if we can show leadership on this, I think that we can seriously make some waves here.
Yeah, that's the whole goal. I mean, like, I don't understand why there's no leadership coming from anywhere. Like, Trump's acting like it's not as big of a problem as it is. Biden has dementia. Bernie's trying to attack Biden's dementia, and Tulsi's just trying to get on the debate stage. So, like, it's a complete cluster F. Like,
and,
I don't know how we got here from 2016. We really don't.
And let's face it, they're both out there campaigning. So they're out there shaking hands and breathing the air.
I don't understand that either. Like, why are
you? Coronavirus does not affect kids. Like, if for whatever reason, it is not. Kids are barely getting sick, but you know who is?
70-year-olds.
70-year-olds. So literally, our president and our almost 80-year-old presidential candidates are out there shaking hands with Americans when this virus is spreading. And like Bernie Sanders supporters trying to dog on Biden with this self-diagnosed dementia. I'm going to be honest. Bernie has a script memorized.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
If Biden just wants to memorize a script, he can get through the rest of the, as long as he avoids the coronavirus, he can get through the rest because they are both of that age, right?
That's why Andrew should jump back in. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
There's still time tonight. Go on CNN tonight.
Hashtag unsuspend Andrew Yang.
Yep. Text him right now. We want to.
Let me do it.
Bring him on. I'll convince him.
I did tell him to join us, but I don't think he's not joining us.
I know. I think I could convince him though. Mike says, why don't we call our reps and senators? We can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, it's just like we're good at trending stuff. We're good at getting some coverage. Andrew needs to be on CNN talking about this. Like, I understand he doesn't have the power to just be like, hey, I want to come on. You know what I mean? I think they have to call him on to talk about stuff. But there have been different media figures on Twitter talking about, I'm trying to figure out which one. Someone said, hey, wouldn't this be a good time for Andrew Yang style stimulus, UBI stimulus? And I think that was someone with Yahoo News.
Yeah, so, Zach Matt did a video, I think yesterday, where they were collecting the different reporters and pundits that were talking about it. So yeah, it's there's little pockets where it's building, and I think what Mike's saying. We need to call our reps and senators. We need to go from URL to IRL,
Did you just make that up right now?
No, URL to IRL.
That was catchy. Shit. Okay. Sorry.
I can't take credit for that. That's what we've been telling the Yang Gang for a long time now.
That's fair. That makes sense. Yeah, Ted Cruz is self-quarantined. I talked shit to him on Twitter about that already. Just because they're saying all these senators are trying to lock themselves away and use it for.
They can do that. They can go work from home from their, Well,
I think for votes they have to be in person. That's the thing, though.
What's that?
I think for voting they have to be there in person, which is also a stupid rule.
Yeah.
Which is okay, so y'all are dealing with the same shit. So where?
And they're talking about wanting to go into recess during this, to protect themselves. So
isn't that the only guaranteed way nothing gets done though? That's my question. Y'all probably that's a good idea, but if y'all are allowed to do it, then we need to be able to too. And yes, they work. Good point. But yeah, they want to go on a few weeks recess. To stay away from it. So,
and they should not until they figure out something for the American people. They
exactly.
Need to pass this UBI stimulus.
Yeah, and nobody we need to hold them accountable if they disappear for 3 weeks without getting anything done. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to build out systems that hey, if you do a crappy job, you need to be held accountable. And that's kind of the direction we're moving. You can't just go into office, not do anything, and we're not going to bring anything up. Yeah, you're right, Mike.
Sure.
Time for an American strike. I mean, that's basically what's happening right now. Think about it. Like, people are just staying home. Like honestly, like, if you're able to stay home, like, use up all your sick time, use up anything to avoid getting sick and bring it home. Hell yeah. Like, it's basically a strike is what it is right now.
Yeah. It's a strike where, like, people have no choice, really.
Yeah, my wife has been slammed at her store, and they fully expect her to keep showing up for our bills too. Yeah, and that's the thing where there's a disconnect in our society. Like, if there's something like this where it hurts the entire population for us to go out and still be doing these things, why in the hell aren't we implementing something to make it work for everyone? It's probably cheaper than what they're proposing. It's probably more simple than what they're proposing. Like you said, like, we know how to send out checks. So why in the holy hell aren't we doing this?
They're going to come up with something elaborate that will end up being, like, it'll totally fall short of actually helping. It'll cost us a whole bunch of money because, like, statistics show that it costs us something like $3 for every dollar we pay out in, like, our welfare benefits. So anything outside of just a straight cash stimulus is, I don't think it's a good idea, and they're gonna try just to not do that.
Yeah, so it's frustrating because you know exactly that's going to happen. Like, Trump's going to try to filter some money to his Wall Street buddies somehow, and I mean, I don't know. It's really frustrating to feel like you don't have a direct way to influence what they're doing. Like, we just need people on a large scale. What's up, Wagner? And we can't really organize. Wagner said we can't really organize in person because they don't want large groups to get infected. That's actually true.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess probably the best thing that anyone can do is start calling and emailing your congressperson and your senator, and tell them that we want them to pass a UBI stimulus. He said, my comments are showing up late, but yeah, we can't really, like, get out in public and rally and protest, right?
That's a frustrating part because it's just barely, again, the severity of the actual sickness, we don't really know how far it's going to go yet. But in terms of economics, like, it's affecting just this small amount that it's affected has been hugely impactful. So imagine if something more serious comes up. Like, we have to build out an economy that is foolproof. Like, so if and when things like this happen, exactly, we have things in place. Like, I don't understand why this isn't already a thing. Like, and again, it's probably just from being spoiled by following, like, Andrew Yang, which is a super smart person that has, like, logical policies. Then you go to what is actually in office, and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about Trump. Like, just both sides of the aisle right now are just they don't get anything done. And it's really frustrating because something like this is going to happen, right? Like, sicknesses happen not too often on this scale, but it's going to happen eventually. So why don't you put safeguards in place for when it does happen?
That's what I'm saying, is, like, if we can get this through, even though it's, like, not our perfect UBI or whatever, I think that the American people will be like, holy shit, we need this year round. We need this forever, because, like, it's almost too late if you're waiting for, like, a disaster or catastrophe or something like that, and that always affects the poorest of us. Like, anytime there's, like, a natural disaster, rich people, middle class people, they can usually get out of the way of a hurricane, evacuate when they're told to evacuate, but it's poor people that are left they're left in the wake of a hurricane. They can't get out. They're the ones that are financially hit when they're out of work for a week or more. So I think that it would be a good experiment of UBI. Like I said, there are literally no downsides because people put the money back into the economy. So whatever so say it's $350 billion, they're going to get it back, right?
Well,
so and then people would be like, holy shit, we should have this, as a regular thing so we can like save and prepare so we're not freaking out last minute.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm also geeking out because I realized that AC's profile photo was a pie with the pi numbers going around it. If you can click on AC's see the pi numbers 3.14 all around it. Sorry, I was being nerdy. But I was listening to, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to think of a negative, like, who would this be a negative for? Like, if they did a UBI to help out with the current situation, like, who would it affect negatively? Like, that's
if Trump is not even looking at if he's worried about his buddies on Wall Street and
but it's an election year. That's the thing, though. It's an election year. And his
he is calling a meeting with like CEOs on Wednesday. He's not calling a meeting with the American people. So I don't know.
That's my question. Like, that's the focus has to be like, hey, the economy was my go-to. It's crashing right now. Yeah. And I can't be seen as abandoning the American people. So I mean, you're right, though. I mean, he's going to go and try to help CEOs and things like that.
We could go either way with him, because he's so ego driven.
Right.
It's like whichever pulls hardest on his ego. So that's why we have to put the pressure, right? Because right now he's getting phone calls from CEOs and like the executives at these airlines that are having to park planes for like. There was one airline where the executive said he's like they're grounding their fleet for the next 6 months, and he's not taking a salary in that time. So that's the people that Trump's talking to right now. So we need to be like calling that dialer that dials into the friggin' house and telling our representatives that we need to bail the people out this time and not the corporations and not the CEOs and executives.
Yeah, someone just sent me a message saying that Hong Kong just approved $1,200 UBI, no strings attached.
Oh wow!
I've heard Japan's doing something similar.
They're doing $80 a day for people to stay home. They're paying them $80 a day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it makes sense, and it's probably cheaper than whatever else the hell complicated plan they're trying to think of. Yeah. Like, and in this situation, it would make more sense because people will still online shop and spend the money on their bills and everything. Like, it's not just going to go in a black hole. Like, people will spend the money. So that's the thing. We need to find stories like that and share them like crazy and get the word out as much as possible. And yeah, they're talking about bailing out the airlines, like you said. And Wagner, I agree. 3 point on Pi Day, where all our math stuff.
Oh yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah.
In a few days. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. I need to get more math stuff.
Gang. On Pi Day, we're all wearing our math gear.
Hell yeah. But we were talking about this last night. Like, I did a live stream last night, and Wagner was actually on. Like, we were talking about it just because I saw what was going on with oil. Because the S&P 500 futures yesterday dropped 5% within 4 hours, and they actually stopped trading. They told people to stop trading. You can't trade anymore. And that was before this morning. So this was yesterday. This was last night. Okay, so in Asia, it was already crashing because oil was crashing because of whatever was going on with Russia. So we were talking about it last night. Like, hey, like, everything's already crazy with just the virus and everything, like without the whole oil crashing, stock market crashing. So they need to do something fast. Like you said, like any other stimulus plan they're going to implement would take like months.
Yeah, and then like there's nothing that is just a guaranteed to work as putting cash. Like I said, they're to come up with these crazy ideas they're gonna come up with, and then have to put in place whatever mechanisms to put them in place, right? Yeah. It's gonna be rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic at that point, right? So like, we know that putting cash in people's hands is literally a win. So we just like I said, Trump has got executives, CEOs, whoever. That's who he's talking to right now. We need to make sure he hears us. We need to make sure our representatives, our senators hear us. And that's basically how we pull Trump around, I think.
Yeah, and it's
they can't cut the interest rates anymore. That's I mean, it's a good idea, but there's no extra bet. Like, they're done.
So the thing with interest rates. So with interest rates are supposed to be a mechanism so that, when the stock market begins to crash, you could lower the interest rates to offset it. Now, the issue right now is that Trump, since he's gotten in office, he's been trying to show like an inflated stock market, inflated economy. So as the stock market's at all-time highs, he's also been lowering the interest rates, which it's actually supposed to be the other way around. When the stock market's at an all-time high, you raise the interest rates to kind of match it so that when the stock market drops, you could drop the interest rates to offset it. The stock market's at an all-time high, and they've already dropped them pretty much to the floor. So when the stock market drops, you don't have this mechanism to offset it. So that's why there's so much like worry right now in terms of the stock market, is because like, holy shit, the one mechanism, the main mechanism we're supposed to have to offset a bad stock market, a bad stock crash is not there because they've already been lowering interest rates. So what in the holy hell do they do now? In comes a UBI stimulus, right? You would think so.
I'm going to agree with AC. Honestly, out of everyone, I think that Trump is also the most likely to implement it. Like I said, because he prides himself on his economy and his stock market, and that's all going down the drain right before his eyes. And this could be a win for him, right? He's like watching his reelection. Like, I think betting odds today put the odds of him, like, gave him like it dropped from like 63% chance of being reelected to like 48.
Holy crap.
He's watching his economy and everything just like tank before his eyes. And I think that, if he could implement this, and he would see it as a win. And I honestly I'm not even mad if he wants to take it as a win or whatever, because we absolutely need to do this. But out of Bernie and Biden, I do think he would be more likely to support it as well.
Yeah, and it's time sensitive, right?
What's that?
It's time sensitive, right? And this is the thing. It's not like a regular economic crash when they kind of consider around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a virus going around and you need to solve it now, because if you wait, it's just going to keep spreading and spreading and spreading. And you're going to make things exponentially worse. So that's the thing. Like, you would think it's common sense, right? You would think they would also be thinking about these things because they're running a country. Like, hey, we should probably do something that will solve the problem sooner than later. And that's a lot of the frustration. Like, I'm really hoping they're thinking about it that way. But part of me knows that they're probably not. They're worrying about their own selves, like Ted Cruz self-quarantining. Like that, it's frustrating. Unemployment is going to tank also when these companies let folks go. Yes, unemployment is that's the thing. It's like, all right, the economy is dropping, so banks don't want to lend money. Banks don't lend money, so people can't get loans for houses and businesses, things like that. Then the housing market's affected. It's just everything is interconnected. So that's why we need to do something now to get out ahead of it.
100 million Americans can't pay their bills and they're defaulting on them. It's too late. And that's,
like, most Americans can't miss one paycheck, like you said. Like, so how many people are missing a paycheck right now? And not just one paycheck, but multiple paycheck, either that they're forced to because the business isn't there, or if here's the thing, the smart thing to do would probably be to stay home if you're able to, but that also causes you to get behind on bills. Like, it's just, the system's built out in a way that it causes people to lose no matter what. And this is what we need to fix.
Yeah. You probably can't go too early on this stimulus, but you can definitely go too late.
Yeah. And we're getting very close, I feel like, to it already being
like what's going on with the stock market today. Like,
And I
And
think
then we now have 607 cases of coronavirus in the U.S. and we've had 22 deaths. It's now our turn, so we need to get on it. So
that's why we're pushing so hard for this UBI stimulus, where they make a stimulus that goes direct to the people. So again, we had a UBI stimulus trending earlier today. I think it got in the 20s trending, but we need to. I mean, we just have to figure out different ways to get this out there, because it's something.
Yeah. Keep the trend going, for one. Like, it definitely doesn't hurt, because Donald Trump is on Twitter all the time.
I just tweeted at him right now
for that to be in his face that he sees UBI stimulus trending. And we need to circulate the petition. Make sure everybody signs it, and I'm gonna do my best, because it's my petition. I'm gonna do my best to get it in front of people who can act on it. We need to call our representatives, call our senators, tell them we're not going to have a repeat of the 2008, that it is our turn to be bailed out. So that's my recommendations. Is we can sit online and talk and worry about it and freak out, or we can get moving on the things that we know need to happen. And calling and bugging your representatives and leaving them voicemails and emails gets on their radar. And like Wagner was saying, we can't exactly they don't really want us conglomerating outside of their offices and having these public rallies, but we can still call, email, and just bug them that way.
Yeah, if there was a time to be super creative in order to get a message out, like right now is the time to flex those muscles, because
hey, you're good at that. Yeah,
like we were doing a great job with it in the campaign. Like obviously there's some places we will improve, and right now I feel like it's a good time to improve, because I genuinely feel like everybody in the Yang Gang is so passionate about what we were doing, because we knew it would positively affect a large amount of people. Right now, like, it is super urgent that this gets a ton of attention, because we need this right now. Like, in terms of, hey, like, it could be, you can't really do it too early, but you can do it too late. It can be late very soon, like especially with the way the stock market was going, because we don't know what it's going to keep doing. Like, that was just today.
Yep.
Like I don't think they could. They might try to lower interest rates a little bit, but that's not going to help the global supply chain, and oil prices and all these things are already falling. Yeah. So like, we need Yang Gang to get out there and try to get this message out as much as possible, so it reaches the right places. So if you're on this, please share the video. Please talk to people about it. Please use the hashtag UBI stimulus.
Yep.
And whatever else hashtags we could think of that is relevant to it. Because right now, like,
unsuspend Andrew Yang.
Can you call him? I'll call him right now.
I'm gonna call him right now.
I will call him. Andrew, if there's a time to unsuspend, it's right now, before tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, I will fly over to Michigan right now and talk to people about Andrew Yang. He's on the ballot there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the ballot.
There's only a handful of states that he's not on the ballot.
Yeah,
but and also something Italy. I don't know if you guys are keeping up with
quarantined everyone, right?
The whole country. Can you imagine when it's our turn, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm coming to North Dakota.
On top of it. We have to get on top of it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're really Yang Gang Summit. We should do that, obviously, kind of after what's going on right now, because
let's not get together right now, guys. I love you and all, but we're gonna have to,
virtual summit. Yay!
And it's a great idea. This what Andrew was talking about with the virtual summit is kind of like what James and I were talking about. What we want to do with this podcast. We want to find like all the great ideas for helping humanity, basically, and talk about them on this show. So then Andrew tweeted out that he wants to do a summit like that, and I'm like, oh, he stole my idea. But it's okay. I will definitely be a part of that. I'm excited.
He has all the good ideas too. It was my same thing with like, oh, a nonprofit to help people. It's pretty much exactly what moving humanity forward is.
Has our phones cat, or he's like, he's got all our data and he's stealing all our good ideas.
I'm fine with it because he'll do a better job at it than I will. But
yeah, I work with him a lot. He definitely will.
So, I mean, so yes on the Yang Gang Summit, no on it right now because obvious reasons. But yeah,
we're gonna go to Mexico for our Yang Gang Summit.
Yeah, that'll create a whole bunch of other issues. So we'll figure that part out. But yeah, there's whole countries being quarantined right now. Yeah. Like literally whole countries, and it's just barely getting into the US, which again, I'm not trying to cause panic in the virus. I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? I'm just saying logically we need, like, there's nobody taking the lead on this. So we need to get our good ideas out there and in front of the right people and hopefully get it moving in the right direction, because otherwise it's just going to get worse. Like it's either going to get better or worse. There's no status quo in this.
Yeah. The time now, this is pretty friggin' urgent, Yang Gang.
Yeah. So again, like we need to talk to everyone we can. I think this summit should happen on state level first, get organized and funded. Yes. I completely agree. We have an organization thing that we need to work on right now. But again, that's why more people need to get out talking and doing things like we're doing right now, which we're discussing everything across a large scale. And please share this video so that, again, we can just get this message out to as many people as possible, because time is of the essence, and we don't know how much worse things can get. Like,
absolutely. So, Yang Gang, while we've got you here, do you guys have any questions, comments for us before we cut out of here? Can you guys hear me all right? This is my first time doing a live stream like this.
You sound good. Well, it'll take a couple of minutes for any questions to come in. But again, what we're calling this series is The Gang Saves Humanity. We will plan on doing it. We haven't even decided, but at a regular. So you say what?
I think weekly. So we're having this discussion right here in front of you guys.
At least once a week. See how everything's made. So at least once a week, depending on the need. Like obviously, this is a fairly urgent time. What support do you need most in Kentucky? Flyers, merch, etc. Sounds good. Hi, Andy.
So in Kentucky, they're gonna start, I think it's in early April, they're gonna start like canvassing and phone banking and stuff like that. Right now they need, oh shoot, I should have got an update before I jumped on here, but they're really trying to push like a lot of social media support. I'm actually going out there probably next week to meet Mike and the whole staff. Like literally not almost, but like a large portion of the Yang campaign staff went to Kentucky, and they're all working pro bono right now for Mike. So it's literally like a Yang Gang reunion out there.
Good. When's the election in Kentucky? When's the primary hasn't even come up yet, right? It's in like May or June.
Yeah,
it's May or June. So there's still a few months.
Yeah, they've got May 19th.
Perfect.
Yeah, so they're gonna start in the next few weeks. So Andrew just retweeted that leading economists now recommend Andrew Yang's universal basic income plan.
Wow, shocker.
So yeah, so this was as of an hour ago. CBS News put out a report that said as coronavirus recession threatens, economists recommend cash for people. Literally what we've just been saying for the last freaking hour, which it seems it seems crazy to me that we are we like to dance around it endlessly. I mean, as it is, because everyone knows, like, there's not a lot that money doesn't. Money fixes money problems, right?
Right.
So the fact that it's always like our last resort, like we don't trust humans to handle their own money is absolutely insane. But thanks to Andrew Yang, they're actually coming around on it. So that's good news. I'm going to quickly read this. Okay, so like I said, the White House is preparing to meet with Wall Street executives to discuss measures. But Wall Street is low on the list of responses economists say the government should be considering, literally what we've just been saying. High on that list, giving money directly to people fast.
Ooh.
Yeah, cash giveaways.
And again, this is, I think, I mean, I don't want to, I think the more we talk about it, the faster it gets done. Like the more we're talking about it, trending stuff, retweeting stuff, just putting stuff out there. Again, if we're doing it on a large enough scale, it will make an effect, because I don't think it's any coincidence that just over the last few days it's picked up a lot. Like what we've been doing helps for sure, and it does have an impact. And I just want people to be reminded of that. Like it seems like when an individual, like it seems like what we individually do doesn't have a huge impact, but everything we're doing as a whole is definitely making an impact, because even, I mean, if you look at a year ago, if this happened a year ago, there wouldn't even have been a discussion at all.
No.
And then just based on the virus to whatever's going on in the economy right now, like for people that aren't even like super hardcore Yang Gang to be like, hey, what about Andrew Yang's policy? You know what I mean? Like that's huge. So
absolutely. And you know what, Yang Gang, I don't think you guys realize the power that you have. Like we have a lot of power. We have a lot of power to make noise. We have a lot of power to make things happen. So like literally this thing Andrew just tweeted, this is, you know, probably somebody saw UBI stimulus trending. I don't know. But they're listening to us now. So keep making noise, keep, you know, calling, writing, whatever, and we'll make this happen.
Yes. Any other questions for us? Some people are, you know, in the same area, it looks like. Any thoughts on using crypto for more versus money? Yes, I love crypto and blockchain, so that's definitely something we need to do. Go follow your daily DHQ on Twitter.
Devin Rashi.
Devin, yes. That's awesome.
Devin has his own podcast. I've listened to the first 3 episodes. I think there's a 4th now and I'm behind, but yeah, definitely go subscribe. Yeah, the blockchain, that's your forte, not mine.
Yeah, it's you talk about a Yang rabbit hole, there's a blockchain rabbit hole too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's yours.
So I'm a fan. It's just, again, it's one of those things where the establishment pushes back very hard. So we'll get there eventually. But yeah, blockchain is the way to go for sure.
All right. Last chance, guys. What you got for us? We've got about, I don't know, 2 minutes.
West Virginia candidates? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
So again, we're calling this segment or series or, you know, the title of this is the Gang Saves Humanity. I want to say Yang. I like the name. The Gang Saves Humanity. We'll be doing this at least once a week. We'll have it, hopefully, should be able to do it live weekly on Heidi's channel. We will also probably be posting the audio on the Forward United podcast. We haven't even talked about that. Maybe, possibly. Just so you can have the audio. So if you're driving around and you can't watch it, you can have the audio there. And we'll be doing this weekly. And again, the whole thing is to be able to talk about problems that we're having in our society and possible solutions, and then get your guys' input. So it's look at Devin's last comment.
Yeah. The gang saves humanity. Yeah. So, and also if you guys have input, you know how to find me on Twitter. Send me a DM or send James a DM. I think both of our DMs are open.
Yep.
We definitely want to keep it like around a human-centered capitalism, humanity forward perspective, a little futuristic, but we want to. One thing I loved about being part of the Yang Gang was that we were so positive and forward thinking and everybody had great ideas. And I want to keep that going, right? Like there's no reason that we should have poverty. There's no reason that we should have so many of like the societal ills that we have. And I'm telling you, I've met some amazingly brilliant people in the Yang Gang with like ideas that need to be out there. We'll literally be like a friggin' TED Talk podcast. I don't know. But yeah, so we want to talk about that. We want to keep Yang Gang moving forward. And, you know, history is gonna, you know, they're going to write about us, I think, that literally this positive movement came along that was just focused on solving the problems of humanity. And we want to talk about that on our live stream and podcast.
Yes. So I think it has been a very good first episode. Thank you, Heidi, for the idea. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yes, Devin, eradicate poverty. That is the entire overall goal, is to eradicate poverty, because we live in the richest country in the history of the world, and there's no reason for this many people to be suffering. So that is the overall goal. So again, thank y'all for joining us. We will be on soon. We'll try to give you guys a heads up, and we will post audio too. So stay in touch, and we'll be back very soon.
Love you, Yang Gang. Bye.
Bye.